Welcome to the Salt Strong Fishing Podcast. Salt Strong has been helping saltwater anglers catch more fish in less time for 10 years and is now the largest and most trusted saltwater fishing community in America. If you want to catch more saltwater fish, then keep listening. If you want to speed up your fish catching results even faster, then join the private insider community at saltstrong.com. Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
Hello, Salt Strong Nation. Joe Simons, like diamonds.
Hey, Luke Simons.
We are back. After a little hiatus, I was in Croatia, and this is going to be the topic of today's podcast and what happens when you have little to no regulation. And maybe a better frame of mind is a lot of places have regulation, but no one's enforcing it, right? That is part of the problem. And, you know, here, at least in Florida, and, you know, I lived in Georgia for many, many years. I lived in Texas as well. We've got coaches that have traveled in all the states, and Luke and I fish in many states. We're going to Louisiana actually next week, fish there in that Venice area. And, you know, all of these different places have rules and regulations. And in general, I think you'd agree with me, Luke, most anglers tend to get frustrated. Like, you know, here it's FWC, for instance, right? We get frustrated. Why are these rules? And, you know, why do they have these different councils and like red snapper and all these issues of what you can and can't keep? And you got slots, and you have, in some cases, we've had times in the last 10 years where, you know, redfish and trout and snook was shut down completely after a massive fish kill. And in general, fishermen tend to get angry and aggravated, and I do, right? Well, that man, who are they to say that we can't do this? But end of the day, it is a privilege. It's not a right. And what I saw in Croatia, which is the reason we want to do this podcast, to bring a lot of attention just to conservation and the importance of actual rules and enforcement of rules. You know, Croatia's been around a long time. Like, we saw some buildings that were before Christ. I mean, pretty wild. How old Croatia is. It's on the Adriatic Sea, and for 2 centuries, it's been a fishing mecca. I mean, it's all coastline there. It's beautiful water. There's a ton of habitat. You got the shallow water, the inshore water, the estuaries, and you got really really deep deep water. You got pelagics. I mean, it used to be an amazing fishery, tons of fishing boats. I mean, there's fishing boats everywhere. Every little harbor you get in and every little marina, fishing boats galore. And yet there are very little fish. Like, look, we talked offline about it. It was kind of embarrassing. And so everyone, when I came back, you go fish? I was like, yeah, I went fishing a couple of times, and like, we didn't really catch anything. We caught a couple little small dinks. There weren't really many fish down there. And I went to the point, we went scuba diving 2 different times. So, it's one thing to, go fishing and say there's no fish here. It's another one to actually go down on those spots. And we went down to reefs and wrecks, and there was hardly anything there. And we saw a couple little scorpion fish and some small little reef fish, but it was desolate. And so that got me asking, like, what the heck is going on here? And before I say this, I'm going to preface, love Croatia. You need to go to Croatia. I think they've done a bad job on their fisheries, but a great job on tourism and just having a beautiful place. This is not a bash on Croatia. Probably the coolest trip I've ever been on my entire life. I've been to some cool places. That was country number 30, checked off the box. So all that being said, Croatia is amazing. Fishing, though, man, it's what I heard, and this is not something you're going to find on Google. This is me just talking to fishermen there, going to these villages, meeting people, and meeting some of the fishermen, and they're like, it's just been overfished. You can basically take any sort of net, think of a seine net in the shallows, think of trawling. They have some bigger boats that are trawling the bottom, and there's quote unquote rules and regulations. You're supposed to have a fishing license in Croatia, but no one does it. And not once do we see a police boat. Not once do we see any regulation boat. And I'm talking about on the water and when we went to the marinas. So we were staying on a boat, and every day we'd go into, have dinner and lunch. Not once did I see anyone checking catches. It was, these guys would just bring whatever they want, and everything was so small. Like, they didn't have I never saw a single big fish brought in there at any of the places. It was kind of mind boggling. I mean, have you ever heard anything like that or been to a place similar, Luke, that?
No, I mean, it's either from overfishing or from pollution, but it sounds like the water was beautiful, and so it sounds like it's just that place just got flat out overfished.
Yeah, it's not pollution at all. They've I'm not going to say at all. There's obviously, as you have more tourism and more yachts and some small cruise ships going in there, you're going to have some pollution. But yeah, the water's beautiful. You don't see pollution on the streets. It's a very clean, and they don't have overcrowding. I mean, it's not, Croatia doesn't have that many people in the big scheme of things. It was overfishing. That's what all the guys said. It's like, yeah, it was great fishing for hundreds of years. My great grandfather. I mean, once again, Croatia's been around before Christ. They're like, it was. You can go out there with a hand line and just catch fish till you're tired, and now they can't. It was so bad that two of the sport fishing boats that we talked to, they actually have little traps. So imagine like a crab trap, but instead it's for small little reef fish. And the night before, they'll drop their traps down with, some bait and stuff in there, cut up carcasses or whatever, and with a buoy. And if their clientele on a sport fishing boat, like a charter, has not caught any fish for that day, at the end of the day, they'll go pull up their buoy and find whatever's left in there. I'm talking small dinky fish. Like imagine like pinfish or bigger. And that's what they get to at least take home. Like it's that bad. Can you imagine being on a charter and the captain's like, man, tough day, but I got a little buoy out here, a little fish trap. I was mind blown. And they weren't trying to hide it. Like they showed me like, yeah, it's just what you do. I was completely mind blown. Now, and I heard the word trawling multiple times, like the net problem, and we did that. I mean, as young kids, and we weren't trawling, but, just as a seine net, as a young kid, and especially in the mid 80s, it was cool to have a seine net to get some bait. And we obviously weren't tearing up the bottom of the ocean floor, but it is crazy the amount of bycatch. Remember all the snails and crustaceans and all.
Catches everything. Yeah.
Everything.
Those nets catch, the nets can do the most harm by far. And Florida used to have the gill nets too, and that hurt the fisheries. And I can't remember what year they got lifted. And I wasn't really even that big into saltwater at that time. I was more a freshwater guy, but supposedly once that ended, it was a significant improvement on the actual results. And that's just sad to see an area just get overfished like that. That's terrible.
Yeah, I really do think it's the trawling in general. Is if you watch videos on that, I mean, you're taking essentially like a seine net, it's going across the bottom, it's breaking up coral heads, it causes so much destruction, devastation, and of course, just kind of takes everything with it. And they kind of said, yeah, there are rules, and I'm not trying to bash on Croatia. I just don't think they have anyone really enforcing it. And so it got me thinking, it's kind of cool to go away like that sometimes because, when you're here, and especially I know a lot of charter captains, a lot of people get fed up with some of the rules and regulations. And I know a lot of hardcore weekend warriors, spend a lot of money on a boat or a kayak, and you want to be able to take something home. And when you're told you can't, you get frustrated. But I'm here to tell you, there's an other side of the story when there's just no regulations or no one to enforce them. And anything goes, and all of a sudden you wake up one day, hundreds of years later, and your grandkids and no one wants to fish there. Like the young people don't want to fish because there's no fish to catch. That's where I'm going with all this. So it was kind of sad to see a country, a nation that grew up on fishing, that was part of who they were for 2,000 years. And now this younger generation doesn't want to do it. Most of these old fishing boats are probably just going to retire and or grow barnacles and sink at some point. There's just not you didn't see the young people out there wanting to do it. Every captain I saw was really old and had been in it their entire lives and didn't really have a backup plan. Like they didn't have someone coming to follow their footsteps, like a kid or a nephew or niece, etc. So I don't know, it's just kind of sad and eye-opening on the importance of having an enforcement group and of having real rules and slots and regulations, etc. I was on one boat there, and anything you catch, just keep it. There's I mean, once again, there's no one to enforce it. It's kind of like California, right? Without getting too political, California has rules. You're not supposed to shoplift, but they put a rule that if it's under $500, they don't prosecute you. So guess what happens? People just keep doing it. All of a sudden, you wake up one day as a state and you're like, why do we have the worst theft in the entire country? It's because, we have no enforcement of it. No one cares. And so we've turned our eye to it. And so I don't know, just pretty eye-opening to get away and see something like that. And especially when you go down and scuba dive. I was hoping that when I went down there, it was like, maybe we just had the wrong baits, or it was just a bad day and there's a ton of fish down there. We've done that, right, Luke? Even lobster. And you see people up on a bridge like, oh, there's no fish down there. Like, dude, we're staring at them. There's a ton of fish. There's nothing.
Yeah, and it helps put things in perspective too. Because I get just like most people, I get frustrated. Catch whether triple tail or cobia or snook or out of season or whatever. And like, I really want to keep this, but the rules are against it. And if we didn't have those rules, then we'd be in Croatia's boat. And same thing, like at the Keys, we would go down there and see all the fish on the down on the bridges. And I assume it was just the Keys. Like, I thought that was like the Keys, like the water's clear, so the fish just hang by the bridges, and then other areas would be different. And then I got one of those AquaView cameras where I could put the camera down wherever I'm at and just see what's down there, like live stream. And I started doing that around the bridges in Tampa Bay. The water's not nearly as clear, but it's at least still clear enough to be able to see like 5 feet, with that camera. And I was absolutely shocked on how much life is down there. It was sheep's head, grunts, mangrove snapper, like you name it. It was insane, like absolutely insane. And if netters were going through there and just wrecking havoc in there, those fish there wouldn't mean anything. So the nets are by far, it's really hard to overfish somewhere with hook and line. Just think about all the fishing piers that just every day those fish are moving. They'll come across structure, stay there. Portion will get caught, and then they'll be replaced by more. Like the fish move around, but the nets are the big thing. And I'm so thankful that we don't have the gill nets anymore in Florida. That was a monster that killed an absolute ton of fish.
Yep, and I coming back from that trip, I was there for 10 full days and got to see a lot and basically hit up every major little port and marina there. I'm grateful for our FWC and the rules that we have here in Florida. And obviously every state has their own group who's enforcing it. But I was actually very grateful. I hadn't said that before because I think, when you're in it, you tend to get frustrated, but we see what someone else is dealing with. And once again, Croatia for thousands of years was an amazing fishery. I mean, you can go see pictures, and it was Adriatic Sea was full of life. And it still is in some areas, but not that one coastline, it was really, really sad to see. Still beautiful waters, beautiful views. It's got the mountains. It was the most spectacular country. So I'm highly encouraging you to go to Croatia. And so now they're just relying on tourism. Their business, like their economy, was essentially fishing for many, many years. And now it's kind of shifted to tourism. Like, well, at least we can have, tourists coming here and restaurants and sightseeing and, everything from, e-bike riding and mountain biking and truffles. You can go hunting for truffles. It's a big thing there. It's truffles. Fascinating place. Wanted to share that with you. The one thing that did is interesting. We were cruising up one of the rivers. So we got off the Adriatic and we're going up one of the main rivers. And we saw these buoys for as far as you could see. I'm talking miles, and both shorelines. So we're in the river, both sides. It's just these buoys, and we're looking at the depth finder. It's very deep. We're 100 feet of water. As we got closer, it might have gotten 60, 70 feet. These buoys with ropes going all the way down. And so we pulled up to one. There was one little house kind of just floating out there, and we pulled up and we're chatting with the guy, and his family leases that from, I guess it's part Croatia, part the EU that's doing this, and it's aquaculture. So they're actually, with those ropes, they're essentially creating oysters and down below, and then mussels as well. So it's mostly mussels that are growing on these thick ropes, but they have little suspending things for oysters. And it reminded me like what Darlene and our amazing Salt Strong Alliance is doing on the conservation side is pretty similar. It's kind of aquaculture, right? Creating these mats that they're going out and putting out in Tampa Bay right now to create essentially sea life, to create oysters. And I did think that part was cool. And as you can imagine, that water there, was, I mean, you could almost see the bottom at 80 feet. It was just it was beautiful. It was eye-opening, staggering, because that whole thing was mussels and essentially kind of what they're in these oyster mats that they had there. It was really, really cool. So that's, at least they're taking some steps to do things the right way there, but still didn't really see many fish around there. It was more about the mussels and the oysters.
Yeah, and I think it's just comes to the importance of just respecting the fisheries too. Like I can imagine that, fortunately, it's very common here where if somebody asks about a fish, like it's like scorned, like you're almost scorned if you keep an illegal fish, which is great. It minimizes the instance of people doing it. I can't imagine somebody, oh yeah, just like they're like, oh yeah, just keep whatever you catch. You know, like that wouldn't fly. That wouldn't fly here at all, which is fantastic. Because if we're going to preserve our waters, we have to obviously manage the fisheries. And although it's not perfect what we have here, there is a lot of data involved. Like we actually went with FWC to do some of their analysis where they go out and they literally are using some seine nets, and they're literally counting every little fish they catch and marking the size and species. Insane. And they're using that to know, what species are there of both the little tiny ones and then the breed stock. But also there is some politics involved as well. So we can't just sit on the curb and not do anything. So pay attention to what's going on, knowing that there is a lot of data, but if a dumb move is being made, we need to be part of it. And second is just taking care of our fisheries. Like with, I went to that Salt Strong Alliance event. It was just last week, putting out some of these oyster mats. And I can't remember the metrics exactly, but this is plus or minus. But in 6 months, as these oysters start growing and start filtering water, each mat, which is maybe 6 by 4 feet, each mat will filter, I believe it's like 100 to 200 gallons a day. Again, all it says, and that's just to start. And as the oysters get bigger and keep multiplying, it's going to grow and grow. So long story short, with pretty minimal investment, we can have a lot of filtration of the waterways, again, just to make sure that they not only stay good, but even possibly get better. Like Tampa Bay, and back in the 80s, supposedly was really bad. It wasn't taken care of, and now it's actually a great fishery. They replanted some grass, they stopped the pollution, and now we have these oysters coming in. So Tampa Bay is, I think, a good example of what can happen if people get together and take care of the resource.
Yep. And catch and release too. Back in the day here in America, when we were growing up, we spent a lot of time over in Daytona Beach where our grandparents had a little condo. And if it was legal, we kept it, right? I mean, and half that stuff, unfortunately, and everyone who's done this can probably relate, it ends up going bad in the freezer, or the freezer loses power in a hurricane or whatever, and you have to trash the stuff. And it's such a shame. And I didn't see any of that, because there were I did see some even people catching some small fish from shore, and they're keeping everything. Like the catch release. I don't think they understood that. And you mentioned something too, Luke, about like the data with FWC. A lot of that, not all of it, but a lot of that funding comes from the 54 million people who bought a fishing license last year in 2024. And that's a lot of money when you start doing the math. And I'm sure Croatia has some revenue from fishing licenses, but it was very small. Once again, because I don't think anyone was worried about getting caught. I think everyone just, hey, we'll just fish. I don't need a license. Keep whatever I want. They had that mentality, at least from my limited knowledge and who I talked to there. It was more just, it's a right, not a privilege. But yeah, you're right. Also, I mean, North Carolina, we've had, old Mr. Brewster on here a couple times. I mean, there's some dirty stuff going on sometimes on the politics side, unfortunately. And so we can't just say, oh, thank goodness we have all these rules and people enforcing them. We still need to challenge that when it needs challenging. I mean, the gillnet thing, for instance, which North Carolina is dealing with still, I mean, that was a big deal. And that took a decade almost, I believe, to finally get, removed as something that wasn't legal. And that took just recreational fishermen who were sick and tired of seeing all that bycatch and seeing what it was doing to the fisheries. So I think it's part water, the pollution, right? Like doing things like getting involved in the oyster mats and seagrass planting and conservation and clams. And it's also just respecting the fishery, keeping what you need We're certainly not against keeping fish. Luke and I both keep fish, but I feel like I do it less and less, like unless I know I'm going to eat it pretty soon, unless it's like an offshore trip and we had some nice grouper to bring back like we did that one time. But in general, like inshore, it's pretty rare I'm keeping something, but that's all up to you. Either way, it's respect the fisheries. And also respect the fact that we have some sort of regulation. Like I said, it seems weird. I've never actually said that on a podcast. But after seeing what I saw in Croatia, I'm very, very grateful that we have rules and we have people to enforce those rules as well.
Yeah. And the key is to have a lot of people, right? Just the anglers that actually love and respect the waterways. If that goes, the license revenue goes down, which now you can't enforce the rules. It's a vicious circle. So obviously, if you're not already doing so,
cycle or circle.
Yeah. What did I say?
Vicious circle.
Oh yeah. Whatever. Cycle. It's kind of both. Yeah. Cycle is usually on a graph and a circle.
Okay.
God. But
place your vote, people. Is it cycle or circle?
Yeah. Either way, you got the point. But yeah, it's just the importance of just introducing more people to fishing. I take out work associates who've never been fishing, a kid in the neighborhood, or the families in the neighborhood. Just get people introduced. First of all, they're a good portion of them are going to love it. It actually change lives. And again, we'll just have the more people we have that love and respect the waterways, the more secure we are in knowing that they're going to be protected. As soon as the amount of people dwindle, or if that happens, then that's the one way that our fisheries actually do get decimated.
Yep. The good news is, I posted it in the community here just recently, that 2024 saw the most people in America in history that participated in fishing 6 and above. So obviously, if you're 6, you don't need a license. So it's not just people had a license, but for people 6 years old and above, there was a 57.9, almost 58 million people. That's the most on record.
That's awesome.
For 2024 that did a fishing trip at least once. Then there still is some churn. I think the scary part of the report that I read was churn means people who are leaving versus new people coming in, like what Croatia has. Croatia has horrible churn, right? All these older people who are it's a dying breed essentially, and you don't have anyone to replace them. There are a lot of older people, and you have this whole massive group of people called baby boomers, right? There's a really big population, and most of them in general grew up kind of fishing. Like there was a pretty big segment of anglers, and they're slowly getting to the point where maybe health reasons or passing away or whatever, where they can't fish. And so that part is getting kind of bad, and we do need to get better of getting new people in. I think we're doing a good job, but it needs to be a great job. We now have the opportunity for young people, men and women, to get a college scholarship or even just go to college to fish. How cool is that? I mean, I'm talking big schools. I mean, UF now has a fishing team, Georgia, Texas, Alabama, and these big schools, Auburn, have fishing teams, and even the opportunity to get a scholarship, which is really, really cool. High schools now have these fishing teams. So it is cool. And obviously with social media, you're seeing a lot of young people who are really getting into it. So I think we're on the right track. But as adults, whether you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, or even 90s, it is our duty, to make sure our kids and grandkids are getting out there. The report was very specific, once again, that if you don't get someone into fishing before age 18, the chances of them fishing as an adult was very slim. And 12 was the other number. If they went fishing before they were 12, they were very likely to go fishing as adult. But that 18 mark was it. Like if someone never experiences fishing by 18, it's not zero, but it was very, very close, like a 3 or 4% chance that they're going to fish as an adult. So all that being said, let's get people out about fishing, respect the rules, but also still be vocal on rules that you don't think are right. Like if you see something in like North Carolina, for instance, it just doesn't feel right, get involved. I don't think we should accept every single rule just because it's a rule, but also be grateful for some of that enforcement. When you do see, whatever FWC offers, whoever it is, pulling over someone or look at someone's catch, I have to say it's a good thing, because I watch what happens when you don't have that for a long, long time. It can get pretty bad pretty quickly. So cool. Anything else, Luke?
Well, I think we covered it.
Cool. Yeah. And if you're an insider member, make sure to go to these chapters. They're doing some really cool things like boots on the ground, with conservation from cleanups, these oyster mats. That was just last week. We have a whole lot more coming with both oysters and clams. And it's just cool. It's really neat to go with your own backyard where you fish, especially with others. You meet some great people. I've been to a couple of these cleanups, and just a lot of fun. And it is amazing and kind of sad how much trash you can pick up in an afternoon. And it's really, really cool when you see these oysters and how much they are filtering. Like you said, it's mind-boggling what these can do. So cool. And if you're not a member, come join us at saltstrong.com, saltstrong.com and /pricing. And if you are a member, make sure to be in the community. That's where we're doing massive giveaways. That's where we have all the chapter updates. If you want to get involved in conservation, it's all there at community.saltstrong.com on your phone, tablet, desktop, anything with internet, really. So, Luke, you seem impressed. Anything with internet? Oh.
Good.
Oh, yeah. Cool. All right, guys, we appreciate you big time. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you on the next episode. Peace. See you.
Want more fishing tips, shortcuts, and tools so you can catch more fish per trip? Then head over to saltstrong.com now and join the movement. Tight lines, and thanks for listening.